Hey, what's up guys? This is Bryce Van Hoosen, and today I am going to walk you through the process that I just went through to automate my Kemper profiling head, which you can kind of see down there, using Ableton Live Lite. So basically sending a MIDI signal from Ableton into your Kemper to change channels, performances, turn pedals on and off, all of that kind of stuff. The Kemper is fully controllable via MIDI, so you don't ever actually have to step on your pedal board ever again. Ableton is a pretty standard live show controlling software. We use it to control our lights. I've used it to control my pedal board in the past, but I didn't actually see any tutorials on YouTube specifically walking you through all of the intricacies of doing things like turning pedals on and off, modulating your wah, which, yes, you can do via MIDI with Ableton and the Kemper. So I'm going to show you all of that stuff, and it's going to be a very specific tutorial for the Kemper and Ableton. So let's step over to the computer and check it out. All right, awesome. So we are over here in Ableton Live Lite. This is 11, Live Lite 11, so nothing special. I think this came with my Focusrite Scarlett. I got a free license for this, so even the cheapest version of Ableton will do here. So first things first, the only way that this makes sense is if you are playing live to some sort of click track or some sort of reference thing, something to keep your drummer basically on time. Otherwise, this is not going to work because you're going to have channels changing all over the place, not really in sync with anything. But if you play it with a click live, then this will 100% totally work for you. To show you that this is working, I'm going to pop in other screen recording of Kemper's Rig Manager, which will basically show you that I have pedals and settings and basically performance slots that are changing. So what I am going to do first is I need to basically pull in my reference track here. I have this as a set list with no drums. We're going to be doing Devil Machine. All right, great. It works. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of leeway here because we need to intro the song. So what I am using to actually send the MIDI from my computer to my Kemper is a small little box called the MIDI Flex 4 from Nectar. Now this has basically MIDI in, MIDI through, a whole bunch of different features, but I am only using the outs for this. So I want to send MIDI from my computer to the Nectar via USB and then out of the Nectar into my Kemper. So I have a MIDI cable plugged from the out one of the Nectar and then into the MIDI in on my actual Kemper. So we're going to be using channel 2. This is a MIDI channel here. And so what you want to do is configure this to go to MIDI Flex 4 port 1. That's what I got. So just a quick word about my Kemper setup. I used one of the Mission Audio sort of like wah / volume pedal, rocker pedal controller things. And so basically the way that I have this set up, and Kemper has instructions on how you can set this up. If this is not similar to your setup, then I might be doing a couple things which will be unnecessary for you to do. But because of the way that I have this set up with this Mission Audio pedal, it's necessary for me to do. I basically have this set up so that if there is a wah effect that is in my signal chain, the Mission Audio controller controls the wah. Or if there's a pitch modulation effect, it controls that. If there is neither of those, then it controls volume. So if it's all the way down, the volume is off. If it's all the way up, the volume is on. And I also have it set up so that if the volume is all the way down on the Kemper with the Mission Audio pedal in volume mode, then the tuner comes on. First things first, I'm going to set this up so that I have my tuner on. We're going to be at the beginning of the song. a little bit of an introduction to the track Devil Machine, and I'm going to tune my guitar. So the first section that we're going to look at here is this. You hit this little playhead looking thing here, and this is going to let you assign your bank and your program. If you have a Profiler remote, unplug that. On the front of your Kemper, there is going to be a little black box that is going to tell you what the bank number and what the program number is. We're going to start out here. I want to tune. I know that I need to be on my rhythm channel, so my main rhythm is going to be MIDI program 32 and MIDI bank 1. Basically, what I'm finding with the Kemper is that all of the performance slots are in bank program 1. And then essentially you just go through program 1 through 5 is obviously your first performance slot. 6 through 10 is your second performance slot, and so on and so forth. So 32, that basically means that I am in my 7th performance slot and on the 2nd of the actual performance channels here. All right, so that being said, what I want to do here is put it on bank 1 and then program 32. I just slide up on this. All right, so to get this to bring up my tuner, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to this section here. You want to click the second one, this little barbell looking thing. I'm going to go to modulation wheel, which is 1. This is basically going to control my actual Mission Audio pedal. And so what I do is I select this, instead of linked, I want it unlinked. Basically what this means is it's going to loop whatever's in this 16th note section here, and it's just going to play that over and over again. So if we can see that, let me put this at the beginning here. We'll select it. And then as you can see, that entire thing, it's just going through a 16th note. So what you also want to do here is you want to put this in draw mode. That brings up the little pencil here. And then the first thing that I'm going to tell this is I'm going to add for spot 1 here on the envelope, which is my volume pedal, essentially. I'm going to say that I don't want anything there. And then, if that's not enough, I'm also going to go to 7, which is channel volume. Click unlinked, and then also draw this down toward the bottom, if I can get all of that toward the bottom. So, that is going to bring up my tuner, and my tuner is going to be on for this entire time. Tuner is on here. I'm able to do all of my tuning, that sort of thing. Then the click starts here. And I want to make sure that I'm coming in at the right time here. So the Kemper, I notice, is somewhat, it's not instantaneous when it actually gets one of these MIDI commands that it's changing things. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's mostly unnoticeable, not a super big deal, but make sure that you give yourself kind of enough leeway to get in here. So I'm not going to do this entirely on the beat. I'm going to do it just a little bit before. So this is going to be my main rhythm, and we're going to go bank 1 back to clip 32 here, or program 32 rather. And so, because I'm not tuning, what I want to do, unlink again, so it's basically just going to take the first 16th note bar in the actual parameter, and it's going to use that for the whole thing. And on the modulation wheel first, I'm going to take this and turn it all the way up so I have volume. And then on the channel volume, I am also going to turn it up so that I have volume. Great. And that is working. My tuner is off. Let's see. I have a graphic EQ in slot number 1 here. Slot letter A, I should say, on my main rhythm. I want to turn that on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to this handy Kemper Profile MIDI parameter documentation 8.6, which you will get from the Kemper site. There's all this kind of stuff here. Basically what you want to look at, continuous controllers, this is what we've sort of been doing here. 1 is wah, 7 is volume. Since my wah and my volume are connected, that's why I have to adjust both of those. Switches, this is the important part here. So I want to not only go to slot 32, which is my main rhythm, but I also want to turn on module A, which is the graphic equalizer. So that is going to be CC number 17, and the value is any. So if there is a value in 17, that pedal is on. So we'll go back to live, and I'm going to go here, 17, loop it, and there we go. You see it turned on Rig Manager. So it is on. We're going to come to that, and it is going to, it's going to be on. And as you can see there, it sort of initially turns it off since it loads the bank first, and then it turns it on. So all right, and then right there is essentially where I have a change that I want to make. I'm going to put this into 16th notes here so I can get it a little bit exact. So again, going just a bit above the actual spot. I'm going to change performance slot. So this is the next one up. This is the delay rhythm here. And so if my last one was 32, this one is going to be 33. So bank 1, program 33. There we go. And it changed to my delay rhythm. Now, what I want to do here is I want to make sure that I have got to make sure my modulation and my channel volume are up so that I actually have volume on my guitar here. I want to make sure that I have this graphic equalizer on as well. So 17. I'm going to turn it on. It's on. That's great. And then I also want to make sure that I have this vintage chorus on. So I'm going to go, that is in slot C. Slot C we can see is 19. Go back to live. That is 19. Unlink it. Let me add that. And it's on. All right, and then I want to add another change here. This is going to go to my main solo. And this is going to be, this is slot number 4. So again, bank 1, whoops, not bank 2, bank 1, program 34, since the last one was 33, 34, that's going to pull my solo. There we go, main solo. All right, so by default, I have my wah-wah pedal on my solo. I really don't want it on for this part. It's not what I'm going to use, so I'm going to turn it off. As you can see, it turned off. But since I remember the wah, I have to make sure I have volume on the volume pedal. There we go. And then after that, I go back into my main rhythm, which is going to be bank 1, program 32. Make sure I have volume. There we go. All right, so for this one, I want to make sure that I have the slot A turned on again. So go down here to 17, turn that on. Perfect, that's working. Once it was able to kind of catch up here. All right, so then we're going to go main rhythm. So again, program 32, bank 1. Turn on my modulation wheel all the way down. And the volume all the way up. Sorry, modulation should be up, volume should be up. I do this for every single one of them just because I don't want to accidentally send some sort of message to my Kemper where it thinks I'm not going to have volume. That's the opposite of what I want. So for this section, this is the main verse. What I'm going to do here is I have basically 2 noise gates. It kind of keeps things a little bit tighter. I'm going to turn one of these off because I don't need 2 of them. It's not a big staccato riff. It should just be kind of a chunky sort of, it should kind of just be a chunky sort of riff with a lot of harmonics and that sort of thing. So I'm going to turn this one that is effectively in the effects loop off. And I know that that is in spot X, so that's 22. And so even though these come sort of default with nothing, you want to make sure that you're actually sending a message to the Kemper that says, hey, turn that off. So 22, that noise gate is off now. Great. All right, so we're in rhythm here. And my next change is coming up soon. All right, so right here, again, put it a little bit before the actual change. And so this one I want to go to what is going to be delay rhythm. So I know that this is program number 33. So we set that to 33. Again, because of the way that I have things set up here, where my wah pedal is my volume pedal. When there's not a wah, I have to make sure that they're both on. Otherwise, Kemper gets confused. Great, so that is going to my delay rhythm, which is slot number 3 on this particular performance. But what I want to do is I want to turn on both the graphic EQ in slot A and the vintage chorus in slot C. So I know graphic EQ A is 17, we'll turn that on. And then 19 is slot C, so we'll turn that on as well. And there, you can see they go off at first and then they come back on. All right, and then we're here at the chorus, and I want to do bank 1, program 32 is going to be my basic rhythm. We'll switch from the delay rhythm to the main rhythm. Again, modulation wheel on, channel volume on, all the way up, all the way up. That's great. I want to turn on slot A again. So 17 turns that on. Perfect. All right. Let me get up here to this little bridge section, and I want to go to slot number 1, this phase rhythm, and that is going to be 31, since it's one below my main rhythm. Bank 1, program 31. There we go. And just for good measure, perfect. Oh, but for the most part here, I do not want to have this delay on. I want it to turn on at the very end of this particular section. So delay is, so you have a couple different settings between, or you have a couple different choices for delay here. You can either turn the delay on and off, which cuts off the tail, or you can turn it on or off and let the tail ring out. So I prefer stuff with the tail, so I use 27 as a general rule. But if you just want to turn them off, either 26 or 27 works, so cool. 27 off, my legacy delay is off. Great. All right, since I want that on now, I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. Again, program 31, bank 1. The delay will be on with the tail, so you should be able to hear that ringing out, even though I will change channels soon. Perfect, and we see that it turned on. So then here I want to go back to my main rhythm, 32. Bank 1. Again, standard practice, turn these on, give me full volume, none of that half volume stuff. Cool, so I'm back to my main rhythm. I want to make sure for this, again, 22, which is that noise gate in X, turn that off. I don't need you right now. Great, so. Perfect. All right, so on and so forth through the rest of the song, basically just adding those additional MIDI parameters for every change that I want to make and letting my Kemper know which pedals I actually want on and off at any particular point. So let's come over here to my solo section, where I do a bit of a harmonized thing with the keyboards here. So first one is going to be, in the studio, I was able to double track and do a bit of a harmony, so I'm not able to do that live, obviously. So I've programmed a harmony pedal in with my Kemper here. So that is slot number 5. That's my solo section with the harmonized pedal on it. So that is going to be parameter 35, or program 35. Bank 1. There we go. Harmony solo. Great. So what do I have on? I have the wah-wah pedal on. I don't want that on for that. It does not call for that, so I'm going to turn it off. And then again, just so there's nothing worse than getting to a section and realize that somehow your volume has been turned down. So I always make sure those are up. So cool. That works, the wah's off. I want the harmony solo all through this part. And then right here is where I want to turn it off and I want to go to my main solo. So that's going to be program 34. Bank 1. Again, sometimes I think I'm slightly paranoid here, but better safe than sorry. Cool, so my wah is on. I'm going to actually use the wah on this section, and I'm going to automate it. So I'll show you how to do that in just a second here. All right, so the whole wah section should go until about there. And then I'm going to want to change back to the harmony. So I'll get that ready. I'll go program 35, bank 1. Again, modulation pedal up, volume up. But I don't want the wah on for this one, so I'm going to go ahead and preemptively turn that off. Great, so I do have wah here, and what I want to do is taking slot number 1, which is the modulation wheel. This is basically what I'm going to do to control my wah with. So I want to go ahead and make sure that this is actually linked. And then I will slide to the right here. And as you can see on the actual MIDI track, it starts extending this and filling it in. So you can see it's actually selecting this on the track. So every 16th note of MIDI is being selected here. And that is what I want, because I'm going to come back down here and I am going to draw where the wah pedal should actually be so I don't have to control it with my foot in the middle of the show. All right, so there we go. So now basically this coincides with where the rocker on the wah is. So all the way up is basically all the way down. The highest pitch all the way down is the lowest pitch, so kind of the more bassier sort of one. So I'm going to start off up. We're just going to kind of go down. It's going to go like a wah, 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 wah here. Cool. And then it switches. So if I had my guitar plugged in and turned on, you would be able to hear it go up and down with this particular drawn MIDI command, like I was moving my wah pedal in sync with this. So that is how you do that. And that is the same process for if you were to use a pedal pitch or anything like that. If you want to do sort of like a whammy pedal kind of thing, it would also work the same way. You would just come down to, I think a different one, 4 maybe? What does my sheet say? Yes, pitch pedal 4. All right, so as you can see here with these controllers, basically you have a number of different things that you can draw in, basically, which will give you more settings. So you can up your delay mix, you can up your delay feedback, you can up or down your reverb mix. Gain can be controlled with that. it's, like I said, really you can control just almost every single parameter without ever having to touch your pedal board at all. So that is basically it in a nutshell. That's all I have to say. You kind of just go through and do the same thing. So I think this gives you enough to get started. Again, be sure to download this sheet off of the Kemper website, which will show you kind of what pedals you can turn on and off and sort of what parameters you should dial in here to control specific settings on your Kemper. And then you're basically just putting them in here and telling them what to do. So a couple tips and tricks. I have noticed that if you are dialing in something, say like 17 is my wah, I turn it off in one. If I want it to be on in another section, sometimes you have to go in and actually turn that on. Otherwise, the Kemper is just going to go with the last command that it was given, which would be 17 off in the case of this. So the wah-wah off. Say I wanted to turn it on. There are times where I would have to actually go in and tell it, hey, wah, turn on. Be sure to test the crap out of this as well. Do it through the whole song, from start to finish, through the whole set from start to finish. Take it to practice with this. Make sure you're comfortable with what it's doing. Sometimes I have noticed that since there are so many different controls that are being sent to the Kemper, sometimes things can get a little bit wonky and sort of lost in translation, I suppose. So measure twice, cut once, all of that kind of stuff. Test. And then the other thing is, of course, do not leave your board at home. If there is an issue or something happens, again, computers aren't perfect, or maybe they are just, they're as limited as their programming. But you want to make sure to be able to have that to sort of fall back on. So don't get rid of the pedal board and the Mission Audio controller just yet. Be sure to have those and sort of use them as a fail-safe. So, all right, so let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. I will try to get back to them and help you out with anything that you might be sort of wondering if you have the same setup here. So, all right, thanks again. I hope this helped, and I'll see you next time.